Hallo und herzlich willkommen zur BUS2BUS Roadshow.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the BUS2BUS Roadshow in Berlin, the final stop after the ones in Hungary, Czech Republic and Asia, the finale in Berlin. Not only of the roadshow, but that's also the teaser for the BUS2BUS 2026. It's a very special BUS2BUS, but before I'm going to tell you in enthusiastic terms, I would like to point out something to all the international guests.
Why is the moderator talking in German? We have two separate streams, and if you signed up for the wrong stream, no problem, we got you covered. Just check the chat, and you will see both links there for the German and for the English stream. So just change over to the English stream. So, weiter geht es auf Deutsch.
Okay, we will continue in German. BUS2BUS is the one on the 15th and 16th of April. It's the 5th anniversary since 2017. BUS2BUS has existed, and we won't only celebrate the jubilee, the anniversary in Berlin, but the biggest since 2017. The exhibition ground has almost doubled. We're going to talk about this in a little while, but there are a lot of things to be talked about today. What is important for the industry? What are the highlights to be expected at the BUS2BUS? What are the topics important for the future, and how are they reflected in the Future Forum, for instance? And obviously, a lot is determined by the political conditions. There's a lot of to and fro. What are the current challenges? This is what we're going to talk about in the coming minutes. And we will also look into the future over the horizon, not only 2030, but 2040 as well. What about mobility and bus mobility? How are they going to develop in Germany and in Europe? We will listen to a lot of perspectives. We've got four great experts with us, responsible for various fields in the bus industry, and they will give us valuable insights. First of all, though, the introduction to you and the invitation. Please feel free to take part in this. We've got the chat open, so if you've got questions during the discussion, if something is not clear, please feel free to send us a note in the chat, and I'll try to include this into the discussion if I see it. But the latest at the end, we will have an in-depth Q&A, and it might also happen that maybe you will have to go to the next meeting. So one goodie right from the start: all of those who will take part and don't have a ticket yet will get the bonus of 50% for their ticket. Simply use the BUS2BUS 50 code when booking the ticket. We will see this in the chat, and then we will see you in April on the 15th and 16th. So let's get started. Whom do we have here in the chat? We do have the manager of BUS2BUS at Messe Berlin, Kerstin Kube-Erkens, and I think I can say good morning in Berlin at 10:30, although it's late. Definitely good morning. It's nice to have you on board. You've got a great panel which you organized, and they are in the stream. Christiane Leonard is here. She works for the BDO, which is the German Bus and Coach Operators Association. You know the BDO. They represent approximately 3,000 medium-sized companies. So Kerstin has great insights about the bus industry and what is important to the bus entrepreneurs. Nice to have you on board, Christiane. And very important, you are responsible for many things. You are the vice chairwoman of the DVR, the German Council of Transport Security. A very warm welcome. Hello, everybody. I'm pleased to be here. Right, two gentlemen are here. Dr. Stefan Carsten, futurologist and an urban geographer. He really has a great wealth of experience in practical terms. He worked for Daimler for the mobility section, and he works for the Federal Ministry of Transport regarding strategic approaches for a local public transport, and he's the head of the advisory board of BUS2BUS and the curator of the Future Forum of the BUS2BUS. Nice to have you here. It's not the first time. Good morning. I'm very pleased to be here. So these are the three people who will definitely be at the BUS2BUS. They are the partners, but we've got a free radical as well, and he will do the fact-checking. Maximilian Roos, director at PwC Germany, and he studied in Hong Kong, for instance, so he can give us the international perspective, and it's nice to have you on board, Maximilian. Hello, everybody. I'm looking forward to the next 60 minutes. Okay, I'd say let's get started immediately. I think everybody is looking forward to the BUS2BUS. What is happening The industry is developing further, and we can see this when looking at the slogan as well. We are driven by the future. And Kerstin, what do you want to express by this? What is the most important thing for the Bus2Bus? Thank you very much for this first question. Those familiar with the Bus2Bus know that inspiration is really important for us. And this is something on our agenda. But we're not only talking about visions, but about what can be implemented today. The Bus2Bus is a platform for innovation and represents innovations, and they are discussed by experts. It is quite clear we want to provide you with a bearing in a phase where a lot of decision makers are under pressure and the industry is in the middle of a transformation. This, however, also means that the need for information is not less and the economic conditions are not easier. This is what we're going to show you. We would like to provide you with solutions. It's about topics such as technology security. It is about infrastructure. We will be talking about the energy safety and how it can be funded, transport mobility, and there are further requirements for medium-sized companies. This is not always easy for them. It's about increasing costs and a lack of skilled workers, not to forget international competition, which is fierce. This is what we're going to present, and we will show this. We will have several exchanges. You can see this in our program as well. So this is a broad platform for versatile topics for an exchange, which is more important than ever before. Okay, there are a lot of things to be discussed. You always have facts and figures, but apart from that, what we can exchange now verbally, you will definitely have some physical things. What about the program as far as the exchange is concerned? Well, on the one hand, let me briefly talk about some figures. You said we are growing strongly, and we're very pleased about this because this is the 5th Bus2Bus, an anniversary. We've got a broad range of service providers, system suppliers, etc., across all the industries, local public transport. I'm talking about long-distance buses and the bus tourism, of course. So we can see that this is a whole range. It's very versatile. It's very important for the exhibitors and also for the visitors. Here you can see the figures. We've got 2 halls and 100% increase. We are fully booked and we are very pleased about that. We do have 16,000 square meters in the outdoors area for test drives. And for mobility, hands-on mobility, we've got various possibilities to drive around. This is a very versatile program for our visitors. As far as the program is concerned, oh, I forgot, more than 50 buses, by the way. And as far as our visitors are concerned, what might be very important to them, and this is the panacea of the Bus2Bus, or the secret, we have an offer for various interests. So this is mirrored because we've got a very versatile program altogether. Everybody who has ever been to the Bus2Bus knows our visionary format. This is the Future Forum. And here we provide a new impetus to the industry. There are other stages as well. There are best practices you can learn about. And then there is everyday knowledge to take home. From the Bus2Bus, we've got a new format. This is the partner stage. I think this is very exciting because here we will talk about business, we will talk about what is important for the mobility companies and everyday life. What are the big challenges? This is a new format. We developed it together with the various regional associations, and I'm looking forward to this new stage. Next, something which is new as well, there's a podcast stage. A lot of our partners and people will be familiar with the podcast stage. We will produce this on site and you can listen to it live Furthermore, there is the Young Professionals program, and I think this is very exciting indeed. What did we do? Well, we used the program items from the program we've got, where we think this is particularly important for a younger generation. That is, people who just entered the labor market in terms of mobility, important for the companies as well. And we said, look, you are young experts. This is the program which we've got for you, which might be of paramount importance to you, and we put them together in this new format. Well, and this is our program which we will offer in April. And I think there is something important and interesting for everybody to be chosen. So I can just invite you to go there. Well, it sounds like coming full circle. So you've got the strategic, far-reaching topics. On the other hand, it sounds very realistic, down to earth. You've got the buses, you can touch them, you can talk to your peers, and there are fresh formats such as the podcast. We've got the first nerd question, as it were. How many bus companies will have their buses there? 50 buses. How many bus manufacturers are involved? Approximately 35 to 40 manufacturers in all sizes of the vehicle, and including a broad range. Great. So it's not just one or two manufacturers putting all their fleet there. No, definitely. It's a whole range, and I would like to encourage you to check the website, because there you've got a list of all the exhibitors and you can get information there. Now, a lot is going on, and I've got only 2 days if I go then. 120 speakers, 4 stages, more than 100 items on the agenda. Maybe you can give me some hints. Well, there, I would like to refer to the website. Please check the program there. You've got several possibilities for selection, and like this, you can create your own program, hopefully in a very straightforward way. And there's also the app, so as to get your bearings once you're on site. I believe we've got a slide for that. Maybe we can see slide number 4. Apparently, we don't have it. So you are very much involved. You've prepared this for many months now. Is there anything where you say, okay, everything's great, but this is what I'm particularly looking forward to? What is always very nice, after many years of preparation, it is nice to meet the people, to meet them in person, to talk to the people with known faces, but with new people, to meet new people as well, and to enter into a discussion. This is what I'm looking forward to most. There are a lot of new faces at the Bus2Bus with regard to the manufacturers above all. But apart from that, I'm looking forward to the various formats, and we've prepared this together with our partners. I'm particularly looking forward to a new format, which is the Bus Driver Day, which we've designed. Here, we provide this to the people who experience immobility and make it possible for us. So we kind of roll out the red carpet for them. We provide a program with them together with the BVG Berlin company. I'm looking forward to this, and it's the 5th anniversary. So we'll have a super cool future night, and I'm looking forward to a great party and great talks as well. Okay, so there will be a glass of champagne to be had, I suppose. So, Kerstin, we discussed everything. And if you're wondering about why the moderator also and only talks with Kerstin, we will have a deep dive, and then we'll have a panel discussion with everybody. But please feel free to ask your questions in the chat. Now, let us go down to brass tacks with you, Christiane. What are the topics to be discussed? We know in Germany, in Europe, it's wild times for entrepreneurs, and you don't know where to extinguish the first fire, as it were. What about the bus industry? What is particularly important for them?
Well, Takis, you've already said it in the beginning, and you've nicely put it, because these are turbulent times, as you've said, politically speaking, nationally speaking, internationally speaking. The last administrative term, as we all know, came to a rather sudden end, and this, of course, has an influence on all these sectors. But in my opinion, the transport sector is most affected by this dynamic development. And the transport sector, as Kerstin has mentioned, is more heavily affected than other industries, say the digital transformation, for instance. There are a couple of panels that we offer on autonomous driving on our event, and of course, we're all really excited to learn more and to discuss the effects it will have. And then, of course, there is the powertrain transformation. We present electric vehicles, for instance, and then there are other panels on similar topics where we will have a lot of input, discussion, and best practice examples that tell us where we are heading, how we can get ready for the development as a company, for example. And then there are political regulations. And of course, there is the world we all live in. And together, in general, and transport companies in particular, we have to be ready to face this change. And the Bus2Bus trade fair wants to provide support. Politically speaking, we can say that the challenges are enormous, but at the same time, the performance of the sector is capable of tackling the challenge. But seen from the other end, we have major problems when it comes to digital transformation. We do not exactly rank first when it comes to that, and companies are expected to be ready and to perform well, but everything they need for that, the environment, the basic conditions that are needed, are not in place. That, of course, refers to digital issues, but it's also true for infrastructural topics such as charging stations, the infrastructure you need for a powertrain transformation. Of course, you can ask for many, many things, but if the coach at the end of the day has nowhere to charge its batteries, then, well, it's of no avail. There are many expectations towards the companies, and the companies are willing, they want to perform, but sometimes there is a lack indeed when it comes to basic conditions that are needed. And of course, mistakes were made in the past. Just to give you an example, neglecting infrastructures over years and years. We did not spend enough money on our infrastructure, road and rail, and now, of course, there is a need to catch up. But on the other hand, there is no public money available for digital processes that are needed for autonomous driving and similar processes. The companies can't go it alone. We need an overall concerted effort that also includes the government. We need cohesion and we need funding. Now, a lot of money needs to be spent to redo the mistakes of the past, and then the money is lacking for the future. This is something we would like to discuss at the Bus2Bus and with our Minister of Transport, who's agreed to come. And then there is a transport committee of the German parliament, the Bundestag. They will also join and discuss with us, and the parliamentary committee on buses, which tries to foster buses and their needs, and they will be there at the trade fair to get their own view of things. And as a sector, of course, we can present our reality too. That means that it's very exciting, very interesting. Everything is in flow. And this is why, of course, tomorrow will be different from yesterday. And this is why it is so important for all the experts to meet on a regular basis for 2 days to discuss what's new. And it is really interesting every time, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually the layman amongst experts here in this circle, but I have the feeling that there were a couple of topics that we will discuss. For example, advocacy for the sector, so that charging stations, for instance, will not be available only where trucks need them, but where tourists and tourist routes need them too. And this is what experts will discuss, amongst other things. Now, Kerstin has opened up a wide range of topics. If I discuss with you now and focus on the private bus economy, then you could talk about challenges and opportunities. How would you open that field? Biggest challenge, biggest opportunity. Well, of course, we try to embrace all the topics, including challenges, opportunities, and probably options to overcome the challenges. We try to discuss that in our panels. We have invited experts with whom we would like to discuss these topics. I've already mentioned infrastructure, but if you ask bus companies where their biggest problems are, then usually the first thing they say is red tape and slashing red tape. Of course, this has been demanded for years. Nobody ever asks for more red tape instead of less. But in real life, we realize that there's more and more of red tape every year instead of less. Just, a driving license, for instance. You know that there is a lack of bus drivers. There's an immense gap of drivers that we would like to fill, but there are so many obstacles. There's so much red tape. The costs are so high, and now here comes the minister and says, here are proposals for passenger cars and driving licenses. And then the entire sector then says, we can't do it that way. So if you take a look at the details, and if you realize that politicians want to tackle the details, that this is where it gets difficult and tricky, and this is what we would like to discuss too in our political talks. Gold plating, for instance, is it really necessary in Germany to enhance the strict regulations coming from Brussels? Because Brussels is not exactly known for a laissez-faire attitude. And there are often proposals coming from the European Commission, and the regulations are made even stricter in Germany. Now, the question is that really necessary? And there are hands-on examples that we would like to discuss on the panels. And we would like to give examples of how we did that in Germany. And our hope is that this will trigger a change in the political sector. Okay, so you mean weighing if it's a directive or a regulation coming from Brussels, because then you've got more or less leeway in national legislation. Okay, so there are many, many important topics. And I have also heard that you don't want to discuss only the nice things, but also the difficult ones. Now, you have invited important guests and you want to discuss the tough things with them too. Absolutely, but maybe I could say a few words about opportunities because we've been discussing challenges a lot. But I think there are many opportunities as well when it comes to buses because all the other modes do not perform so well for different reasons. Don't want to go into detail because this is about buses, but strategically speaking, there are so many advantages for buses because they can respond so quickly. They're very efficient, they're cheap. They do not require a lot of regulation, but the regulation that is there should be targeted. And especially when it comes to buses and tourism, which is also a topic at the Bus2Bus, we would have to say that young people often are quite open when it comes to buses. That was difficult in the past. If you now talk to young people, and this is what we try to do, we try to reach out to the next generation with some of our formats, and then you realize that young people want to get from A to B, and they do not care what mode of transport they use. What's important to them is that this mode is affordable and environment friendly, and buses and coaches are in a very good position. Baby boomers are also our clients. We have to say that too. And baby boomers usually are kind of seen in a negative way, but when it comes to coaches, there's an immense number of future passengers. And this is why I'm not worried at all that the sector will run into difficulties, but maybe all these people will want to drive with electric vehicles too in the future, and then we need a charging infrastructure in place. And this is what I'm looking forward to because I think this mode of transport comes with huge opportunities too. Okay, thank you very much. That was very diplomatic. As a presenter, I can say that my younger brother has a Deutsche Bahn client card voucher, but sometimes my brother is happy to choose a coach instead because the German rail is sometimes late or it doesn't drive at all in wintertime. So, okay, many things are underway. What are your highlights? Well, what I'm looking forward to is the next generation panel, because this is the future we all have, and we have reached out to young entrepreneurs as the German Bus and Coach Operators Association, but also on behalf of the trade fair team. And the agenda we've put together is great. I'm looking forward to see everybody there. But then there are so many other things. The exhibition is great. We've discussed the panels. Then there is a national stage, the partner stage, where the German Bus and Coach Operators Association's local groups are participating, presenting their topics, and I'm looking forward to that too. So it is really difficult to say what I'm most looking forward to. Those of you who've already been there will know that it's about the whole trade fair, and I think all the different panels and events are part of that. Thank you, Christiane. Those who've already been there, I would like to use that as a segue to our other expert in this group, Stefan. Stefan, you have visited the Bus2BUS fair already. You've been around in this sector for years. What has happened over the past few years? Well, thank you very much. Indeed, this is my fourth Bus2BUS trade fair, and now we're moving towards the fifth. So I'm getting older, the beard is getting grayer. But of course, coming back to what you've said, Kerstin has said that the claim of this year's Bus2BUS is driven by the future. And of course, now I would love to give a presentation on the future. But of course, I won't do this here. But companies that plan for the future are successful. It's the future that sets the tone and sets the course. And this is what we are doing during the Bus2BUS and the Future Forum. We try to focus on the future. We try to find out what the sector has to get ready for. And over the past 2 years, we've done a lot on that. Time flies, indeed. And we have put together an advisory board. This is a great group of people who support us in many, many ways with different views on things, different topics, contents, backgrounds. And I would like to use the opportunity to present the advisory board. Thank you very much. You can see the slide here. Of course, I'll go ladies first. So do not be surprised if I'm not going through the slide in the right order, because I don't want to skip around. We've got Anna Philby, the founder of the Young Mobility Network Transformation and Change. That's an important topic and aspect for us this year. It's important to discuss how we can get ready in these uncertain times where nobody really knows where we are going, where companies are under a lot of pressure, and this young view on things is very important. Iris Hegemann of the German Road Safety Council, and then there is Britta Ulrich with her view on things, and then there is Kai Laumann, the Deputy Managing Director, Christiane's colleague, and then there's Finn Ole Peters. You will be familiar with him because he received the Startup Award at the last Bus2BUS. He's often there, often with his bus, Peters Reisen. His company is called. It's a very active company that shows us that you can go about things in a different way in your day-to-day business. And then there is Maximilian Roos. You will hear from him in a minute. Then there is Felix Thielmann of DB Regio and Professor Dr. Franz Tillemann. And another person who's been around forever, and that's our technology expert, our market expert, Don Dahlmann, who will be the presenter of the deep dive stage this year. And I'm also part of the advisory board, and I am very, very happy to be able to fall back on so much knowledge and insights in order to provide answers to the topics that you're raising.
So a lot of smart people with different perspectives providing the program who are on board so as to include all the topics. I thought that this is great, that has been proven by the Bertelsmann Foundation, for instance. Those enterprises who look into the opportunities are the successful ones. And then there will be the Future Forum. This is a perspective into the future, onto the opportunities. What is this program? This is what you are responsible for. Yes, absolutely. It is during the past 2 years that we seized the opportunity and spent a lot of time so as to have a more clear-cut approach, so as to convey our messages even better, use different communication tools and have some highlights. And this is why we developed a Future Forum, and we focus on these 8 topics. First of all, as Christiane already said, it's artificial intelligence and autonomous mobility. This is a core topic. I have been looking into this issue for, I think, 20 years even. 20 years ago, I did the first project on driverless driving, and now we do have these vehicles indeed in Germany on the road. There are the first robo-taxis in London. They will be there soon. This future is getting closer, and we need to prepare this. Then next generation mobility. This was briefly mentioned already. I recently have talked about this for quite some time.
Jetzt gerade zumindest an meinem Ende.
No, I unfortunately can't hear, says the moderator. I lost Stefan's sound. What about the other participants? They are struggling as well. Yes, I hear that his sound was lost. We simply fill it. Am I back? Yes, you are back. Simply repeat your last 2 sentences. Well, the young generation. The generation scooter is, as I call them, not because the scooters are that important to me, no, but this is the first generation not focused on cars. They see mobility in a different light. So mobility as a service is what is important. How do we integrate the buses into a spectrum of mobility, transformation and change? I have to mention infrastructure and drivetrains. Where do we get the energy from? And what about e-mobility? Sustainable tourism is another topic. We've got great panels and a great program on that. Then needs-based mobility, rural areas, for instance. Largely, the rural areas are without any mobility whatsoever. There are a lot of developments which we will outline, and they show that the rural areas can look forward to new mobility offers. We need to discuss this. And then topics from the BDO, a lot of political issues, political conditions. So the political and social meaning of the bus in its overarching context. Here again, the challenge, there are so many interwoven topics, everything you have to be aware about. There were the generalists in the past. This is no longer possible. If we use some principle and say, let's not have 100 but 80-20, what are the 20% important to you? Well, I can't answer that question. Really, I can't. I'm looking forward to Thomas Dreves. He will talk about his study, which he published 6 weeks ago, Driverless Driving as a Game Changer. And he will talk with Stefanie Barita from Gola and others about how can we get this onto the road? What kind of promoting programs do we need so as to push autonomous driving? Anna Philby will talk about her mobility network. She will be the host of an entire panel session. What about new young talents? How can we win them for the bus industry and the entire mobility industry? I'm looking forward to something new in the program. I would like to invite all those listening to come to the BUS2BUS, to the cocktail reception on the first day at 5:30. Zenobi, the British company, addressing electromobility from various perspectives, they will hold a cocktail talk. So let's meet there. I will definitely be there, because there we can already draw some interim conclusions, and I think it will be nice before we'll definitely go to the future night afterwards, as Kerstin said, and as the last topic. And these are the 20 or maybe 22% then. It's the space for thinking about buses. Iris Hegemel will be the host of a panel. It will be opened by Sophia Oberhorn. She comes from South Tyrol. She's in charge of the Mobility Consortium in South Tyrol. This is a tourism region which sometimes have to stop marketing because there are too many tourists flogging there. And they now drafted a new mobility program. She will tell us how bus mobility works in South Tyrol and what kind of a positive message this is. These are the new narratives for buses. We will discuss this with Theresa Meyering from Meyering Company, with Katrin Berg of Tourism Marketing Saxony. So what do we need? What kind of a new narrative or narration do we need on buses? Well, so there are the different regions which are represented. It's not only the BUS2BUS Berlin and maybe surrounding territories. No, there are panelists coming from far-flung areas. Thank you very much, Stefan. We will listen to you later on during the panel discussion as well. So I would like to point out, please fill all your questions into the chat. If you're interested in something, here is the opportunity to ask 4 clever people about it. But let us move on to you, dear Maximilian, the free radical for fact-checking, as I said. Maybe you can tell us something about your perspective. What is important in strategic terms? One of the mostly discussed topics, also important for Christiane, I suppose, is the services provided in Germany. Where are we headed? Yes. I'm very pleased to talk about the services provided in Germany, and let us look into the future of local public transport. We discussed future already, and I would like to say right from the start, buses will play a major role. In the next minutes, I would like to shed some light onto an expert opinion which we have by including the entire industry of the BDO and others as well. It's about local public transport. We published it just recently. The first important topic was to take a look at local public transport in 2040, more efficient, more performance, and more modern. These are the targets. These are ambitious targets, but it's important we talk about mobility changes, climate protection, mobility transfer, etc. Now, if we delve into the details, we see that this is smooth transport, digitization in ticketing, booking, information, etc., physical aspects as well. And here I need the services provided not only in the big cities, but in the rural areas as well. And all of it has to be climate neutral, of course, and reliable, secure, and affordable. This has to be highlighted again and again. These are the factors which are important. Now, it is the task that we've got to look into the details, and this is what we did. There are 2 scenarios which we developed on the next slide. Let's take a closer look at this. Here, this is the modernization 2040 scenario and the services provided in Germany 2040 scenario. Now, if I am allowed to simplify it, then this means that the mobility system has to be put in order. Christiane Leonard mentioned it earlier. We see that there's a lack of investment. Infrastructure is in a bad shape. Unfortunately, there's not good reliability, and the fleets need to be reduced in terms of CO2. All this is a major task, and this is the modernization scenario, which we can see here. But we want to have local public transport as an alternative in everyday mobility. We want to make sure that people don't need a second or third car any longer. So we need better services. Today's system should not only be modernized, but we need better service, more services. And this is the so-called Germany service. We have to massively roll out this in terms of rail, but also above all on the roads with the buses. That is, we need to connect the rural areas. There should also be smaller vehicles, not only the urban bus going or leaving once an hour. It has to be more efficient altogether. So we can say that this is an important factor for this services provided across Germany, but, and we can see this on the next slide, there are also major challenges. That was another slide. The bus first. Buses are important. This is the important pillar. Let me give you some figures about this. We can see the demand for buses will be increased by almost 50%, by 25% in local public transport in Germany, because there is the element of buses. Why? Because we will increase bus services by 86%, thanks to smaller vehicles sometimes. I said that the function of the bus is important, but the but I just mentioned, so the disadvantage is the following one. Those in the know will see that on the next slide. Where do we get the drivers from? We need drivers to drive the vehicles. We need many more vehicles, of course. The fleet will be increased from 60,000 to 120,000 vehicles, and we are struggling to find sufficient numbers of drivers even today. This is why we said we need autonomous driving. This is definitely a game changer here. This is a vital technology for the future. I have to stress this once again. This is important for us to provide services across the country. This is one fact, but then there are the economic aspects. We've got an economic efficiency model which we drafted, and we can calculate very clearly what the economic effects will be in such a system. You can see this to the right-hand side of the slide. And here we can say that after a ramp up, we can save costs, which will make it possible to provide better services, of course. But here again, I would like to launch an appeal. No technology will just fall from the trees and plug and play. We need enough funding, and this has been included in the coalition agreement with the regions, the government, and we believe that something has to happen very quickly so that driverless driving can happen. It's like the solar energy effect otherwise, which means that future technology could not be rolled out, but it will be scaled in other parts of the world. So we should definitely keep at it in Germany as well, also with a view to economic politics. Now, this was everything on driverless driving. What is also very important is the role of medium-sized enterprises. In this scenario, we can say automation is great. E-vehicles will make the system more complex. Bus operators will become system operators, but at the same time, we need to raise the question, what does it mean for the business model of the medium-sized companies? And we say that highly automated driving provides good opportunities, because at the end of the day, it shall be used everywhere. And autonomous driving doesn't mean that you don't need staff. The vehicles need to be maintained. There must be emergency management, customer care, for instance, will be important. So these are a lot of tasks that need to be fulfilled everywhere in all the regions. So we believe that the medium-sized enterprises should prepare themselves or look into this and to think for themselves, what about my business model? Maybe I should develop it further. Now, this was kind of an insight into future technology, including highly automated driving. And now I have to talk about funding, unfortunately. This will be discussed at BUS2BUS as well. Let me talk about it again. All of this comes at a price. We can see it at this slide here. It's quite sobering, I might even say, but it's a realistic outlook in terms of figures. We will definitely need to make an effort across society. Local public transport has 26 billion euros, which they receive per annum in Germany. Municipalities pay a lot for this. We know that the households in the municipalities are really struggling, and modernization will mean an additional 4% per year. Approximately 7% for this scenario, which I mentioned, services across Germany. And this means we need to launch an appeal to politicians to really have a debate on the priorities of the future. I think we have to stress again that a good mobility system of high quality will be an important pillar for a society and the economy, the industry of a company. And I'm looking forward to discuss this in the panel discussion later on. Well, Takas, thank you. Thank you very much, Maximilian. You definitely were prepared for the call. Very good slides. I suppose some people were struggling just like me. We couldn't clearly see the figures. Can we get the slides? Yes, absolutely. This expert opinion I mentioned was published in a major campaign. You can check it on the internet. You can get the executive summary. You can check the various details of the regions. You can read the long version, everything. So if you're interested in this, please feel free to contact us.
This is once again a nice bridge to the discussion, but first of all, we would like to have a Q&A from the chat. Maximilian, you have brought many strategic questions. Can you also offer a practical translation into day-to-day business? And Kerstin, this is the presentation, and there is the testimonial coming from practical life. Well, yes, there is a connection. I would like to refer you to our partner events. As Christiane has mentioned, this is precisely where bus operators get an opportunity to get in touch with colleagues to find out what the problem is. It's a very nice, small format, a nice stage where you can have face-to-face discussions and conversations. And this is the event that I would like to recommend to the visitors coming to the Bus2BUS for concrete answers. Now that you're here, I would like to ask a few organizational questions because a couple of the participants and visitors are maybe young professionals. Where do they go? Is there a chance for them to network? Can they already book appointments or events? Indeed, they can. Once you buy a ticket, you can visit our Bus2BUS online platform where you can find information on the agenda, exhibitors, events, and you can use that for networking. You can also use our app, which will be available shortly. And as a young professional, I would like to recommend one event to you with Anna Philby. We hold preparation events where you learn how to get in touch with other people, how to do small talk, how to do networking. But you will find more information on the website. There are a couple of other questions in the chat, but first of all, let us discuss some of the topics that you have raised in your deep dives. We've heard a lot about autonomous driving and how important it will be, digitization in public transports. These are the opportunities. I think we are all talking about that. We're all familiar with that. But is that a true perspective for bus SMEs, Christiane? Well, we've already said this development is just around the corner, but I remember the Bus2Bus 2017 when we had all the experts on one stage and asked, will it be possible to drive the bus autonomously through Berlin? And the majority said, yes, it will be possible from 2025 on. So we all know that this didn't work out. And I am looking forward to what they have to tell us in April 2026. But of course, this is tongue-in-cheek. Indeed, I believe we all agree that autonomous driving is around the corner, and in my view, it is an opportunity for small and medium-sized enterprises, which usually is not the focus. Usually, we take a look at the United States, robo-taxi, that's been mentioned here. But at the end of the day, a public transport service is day-to-day business, which means that you have to run it, you have to organize it. There are many high-level talks about that, but at the end of the day, what it boils down to is a very practical thing on-site, run by experts. And our problem is, for example, what Max has said. In the last legislative term, we had a modernization pact on a national and federal level, or regional level rather, and it didn't really come to much and has not been relaunched by the new government. And this is about funding public transport. Currently, we're having a public discussion about the nationwide public transport ticket for Germany. 3.5 billion euros are on the table to be spent on it. But at the end of the day, what we have to say is if there isn't an offer in rural areas, then it doesn't matter how cheap your flat rate ticket is. And this is why everything is connected to everything else. Autonomous driving comes with a potential here because it brings down the costs of running the business. We know that staff is the biggest block of costs for companies, and this is why other structures will be needed. Many things will change. But of course, the companies have to be on board too if you want to establish a running system. In the past, probably the experiences weren't exactly positive. Scooters in Berlin, for example, I live near the train station and I can't really walk anywhere any longer because there are scooters scattered all over the place. This is just one example that didn't work because there wasn't regulation for that. Of course, regulation per se is difficult because we believe we need more freedom instead of less, but there are cases where I had been wishing that people would have put their heads together to find out how we can do that. And the same is true. We will not have better public transport if we have autonomous driving on top of that or next to it. So it has to be a harmonized effort, and those should be included who have been running the system well for so many years. Everything's connected to everything you've just said, and actually it's quite difficult to discuss just one topic without discussing an additional five, but let us start again. In Hamburg, for example, it was said that until 2030 we will have robo-taxis and buses on the roads. Now it's just a couple of hundreds, but the message I like is that this is a hands-on topic. We will see this. Maximilian, you have an e-bus radar and a robo-bus radar as well. So the topic is there, right? Yes, and I can only agree to what Christiane has just said. In our opinion, the way it is in Germany, when it came to the regulation for autonomous driving, we were the pioneers. We did get the framework right in terms of regulation, and technologically speaking, we've been saying autonomous driving will be there in 3 years for a while now, but globally speaking, there were many projects that we could observe and find out how it could work on the road. So technologically speaking, I think we can tick this off, but funding is still an issue to be solved, as is business case. Who works with whom? How can we scale systems? Because we need an outlook for the industry, because we don't want them to provide several shuttles that then run individually. We need scaled up systems, and we cooperate with the stakeholders to make sure that funding is in place and we have a system that we can run in rural areas in an affordable way. More regulation is needed for that, actually. But this means that at the end of this decade, we will have scaled up systems, and in the next decade, the topic will gain speed. Thank you, Maximilian. Stefan, I'm just thinking about a cloud of words that I've heard in our discussion: powertrain, transformation, autonomous driving, robo-buses, rural regions have been mentioned. Is there another important mobility topic that's still missing? And what are the answers? I believe the most important mobility topics and trends have already been discussed. What's important for me is that we have this perfect triangle. We have three central aspects that are interconnected and cannot be dissolved, and it's energy, digital, and mobility. And that means that we will move away more and more from the actual product towards a system offer. And this is true for all mobility operators, and it's of essential importance. It will not be possible any longer to just be there saying, I will sell a vehicle with a certain powertrain and I'm just switching from one powertrain to another. charging systems, inductive charging, for example. I've said that 20 years ago. We will see that because we will need seamless mobility everywhere when talking about autonomous driving. When talking about autonomous driving, nobody will get out of the vehicle to plug the vehicle into the charging station. Instead, we will need different systems, and inductive charging is important, robots are important, and digital issues are important. Today, I can already decide how to configure my vehicle within 20-30 seconds. The automation is in place in the background. There is a red or green traffic light, and within 30-40 seconds, I can order the vehicle. I don't have to visit the OEM's site. That means everybody offering mobility must be readable for AI systems, and that is the prerequisite, because otherwise the agents doing that for us will not be able to find the information they need. I think we have to get ready for the framework to change completely. And personally, I have to say that I'm quite positive. I'm looking forward to this era because it actually continues and develops what we've seen with smartphones, because this is what made it all possible. Mobility becomes visible and usable for everybody, and this is an essential aspect of the mobility transformation. Okay, so indeed, I do have a couple of questions for you. But in between, I would like to note again that we're discussing in German. We have live translation into English. And Kerstin, how will you do that, the international thing, at the trade fair? Well, we will translate to and fro between English and German, and this will offer bearings for all the visitors. And many things probably will happen in English. Indeed, because we're in an international event. Okay, very well. Back to our actual topics. Stefan, you've raised so many technological issues, inductive charging, for example, that comes with investments. In the beginning, Christiane, you've said that this is one of the challenges. Do we now pay for the homework we did not do in the past, or do we spend money as an investment into the future? So what's the financial scope for developing public transport? Do we need to change? Well, as I've said before, when it comes to public transport, we had the modernization pact between the national and the regional governments. And here we have to take stock, which is why we did actually have a review on this topic together with Max in order to find out what we need in the future and why we need it. And of course, there is a price attached to that. But in a nutshell, I would like to say, because we've already talked about alternative powertrains or electrified bus fleets or hydrogen-powered cars and buses, here I can say that it's quite positive to note that the current government has put together a subsidy scheme for companies which had been scrapped before by the previous government, and the new Ministry of Transport reinstalled it immediately and provided these subsidies once again, and private companies benefit from that too. I'm particularly happy that the ministry will be present at the BUS2BUS and participate in several events and slots to inform us about what they have planned for the future, because we all know that it is not profitable yet, and as long as it is not, what is needed is an initial startup funding, and the representatives from the Ministry of Transport hopefully will be able to tell us in April how they would like to proceed. Currently, they do not know because we're talking about a new scheme, but I am actually quite positive, and I believe that the colleagues from the ministry will be able to tell us more, to tell the companies more about the new scheme, what to bear in mind, when to apply. And we're talking about hands-on information here that companies need, and information that's quite helpful for companies in order to find a good position in the competitive field, because competition is fierce and a bit of an advantage is helpful. That means that it's not all negative. The government does not withdraw from funding. This is not what I want to say. The government is there to support. But what I'm still missing is the overall strategy to think it all through. This is what I am missing at the moment, but I actually hope that we will manage to do that together. I've already said, Maximilian, that you're the fact check here. Of course, Christiane represents the sector and you are neutral or semi-neutral at least. Is there anything you would like to add? Because there are interests of other associations and sectors. What's your view on the Modernization Pact and funding?
Well, I think we somehow need to take the political perspective. We need to see it under the overarching topics, security topics, etc. However, globally speaking, there are a lot of examples that a good transport infrastructure need to be affordable for the national economy. We need to be able to act, and this means that we need to invest money. This will mean quite an effort. We will definitely need to prioritize this. But what we can see that the outlined technologies, as such, they are more efficient. So in the long term, they will make the system better. It will be easier to fund it. So we need to see that as a nation, as a country, we are able to invest into the future. Christiane just put it very nicely. We shouldn't only invest into the past or catch up with the tasks that were neglected in the past. So I believe that there are no two opinions, but we shouldn't be too naive and think it is very easy, but it has to be implementable. It must be possible to implement it in political terms. There are a couple of questions in the chat. Please feel free to put further questions in the chat. Seize the opportunity. We will have time. We can stay in the stream for a little bit longer, so we've got the time to answer all the questions. So the last questions here at the panel discussion. Stefan, you've got a lot of topics, you talk to a lot of people. Is there anything that you say, well, I've got a question mark there, this is not being clarified and has to be addressed? Well, if you saw the last program of the last conference, then you remember that the people were standing in queues because it was so jam-packed. There was such an in-depth exchange last time, and this is what I would like to see and enjoy. I would like to invite the young generation, those who are new in the sector. I would like to invite the baby boomer. Please come to the conference program. It's free of charge, of course. The cocktails on the first day at 5:30, they will be free of charge as well. So please, let's seize this meeting point. Let's start a conversation together. Let us go from one stage to the next. And if maybe we have to walk through a bus from one stage to the next, we will do this. And this is what I'm looking forward to. And this will be definitely a highlight. We are expecting record numbers in terms of visitors, not only exhibitors. Great. Christiane, if I come to the BUS2BUS as a visitor, and well, maybe I've got my bag with me for insights, to be filled with insights, will it be full? Well, there will be a lot of new impressions that you will be able to take home. And the idea, I will have to change something in my company, or else maybe I am lagging behind, or maybe you got a new perspective to change things in the future. Even I had the experience every single time after BUS2BUS that I had more information after the BUS2BUS, and I saw things from a different point of view. And this is an opportunity of the BUS2BUS to have open eyes, open ears, to walk through the BUS2BUS, get new insights. We will have so many talks everywhere across the exhibition ground, and then you can get a different take on things. I think we need this in these turbulent and difficult times. To remain at a standstill will not be helpful. One can make a mistake, of course, but then you have to change track, and this is possible, I believe. And the question was also asked externally, how can we get connected? How can we have an exchange with other companies? This is the basis of this event. You can have an exchange on the panel discussions, as Kerstin said. You can go to the cocktail receptions. You can have an exchange in the evenings. And there are not only groups such as the Next Generation, we will do a tour with them, for instance, as well, that we will walk across the premises so that they can get in touch with one another, get to know one another. I also invited the business women. They will meet as well. So all these women of the BDO will meet. They've got a great network and they are very active. These two groups have managed to get connected already, and the others will have to start this on site. And I believe that this will work out very well, just like in the last years. Before I move on to the next question, another question, Christiane, one topic someone is hoping for is an answer regarding the expert opinion, Berlin, whether there will be a feedback already. Apparently not so. Do you think that there will be a feedback in April? Whether there will be an answer on the expert opinion on performance costs and subsidies, etc., whether there will be any proposals already in April, I don't know. As far as the promoting mechanisms for the electrification of the fleets, yes, definitely. But regarding this expert opinion, well, this is kind of a big issue, a big project, and politicians at the national and federal state level, they need to make more headway. I definitely have to say this. But we will have the possibility to ask the minister who will be there. And he can make a major contribution, of course, because he is obviously very important. So please seize the opportunity, talk to him and ask him about it, what will happen in the future. And maybe we can hear more than we can expect today. So very exciting. Maximilian, you have been very prepared with a lot of figures. So you talked to a lot of people before our conference today. Is there anything where you'd say, well, I'd like to discuss this during the Bus2Bus with people I've not seen so far? Well, I believe what we can do during the conference is we can discuss how we can make mobility more efficient in the future. There is the own contribution of the industry. This is something that is being discussed and required by politicians. So they say, if we provide more money, you have to become more efficient. And I think we've seen this quite nicely in the discussion. We can become more efficient if we use technology and if we cooperate as well. If we open up silos and act in concert with these technologies. I'm firmly convinced that everybody who is in the system today will play a major role. I think we immediately say, or it would be wrong to say, let's maintain today's system. And the Bus2Bus is a wonderful platform for this exchange because there will be so many renowned speakers and we can talk about it, because I simply believe we need more efficiency. Kerstin, regarding this Bus2Bus, what is special is that the drivers of the buses will be there. You focus on them, and I think there are very specific questions from them. Even if I don't have a bus driver's driving license, can you go there? Well, we've got some buses. And this is something very special on the Bus2Bus. Yeah, as a matter of fact, you can drive these big vehicles across our summer garden. This is nice. And the entire program that we've got, all the program formats, all the stages can be visited with one ticket. So this is something special of the Bus2Bus. So all the formats, one ticket wherever I want to go to. Would it make sense to pre-book somehow, because there are a limited number of visitors possible for test drives, for instance? Yes, we would recommend this for the tours, for the guided tours. There's information to be found on our website. There's a ticket shop, and you can tick this if you want to take part in a tour, be it the tour for the bus drivers or then for the mobility network as well. Do you have any further questions in the chat? Because as a matter of fact, I think we've answered almost all of them. I can see one question in English. What about startups, Kerstin? If you are a startup, can you still register? Definitely, yes. This is kind of a core of the Bus2Bus. Right from the start, we had a startup area, 2 great awards, the State Up Awards and the First Travel Award. So, of course, startups can still be included, although we're at the end of the limit for registration. But this is still possible, no problem. And let me make one remark. It's important to stress this. We're talking about transformation and technology, but transformation and changes Well, we're talking about humans, actually, and what makes the mobility sector so important and exciting for me is we are moving people, and there are social spaces for exchanges, so a platform for social discussions as well. This is very important, I think, and we should focus on this because this is what is really important. That is, people are a center stage. Still a technical question at the end, Kerstin. What about the various drivetrain concepts, hybrid, battery, etc.? I think the question is to you, Stefan. Will it be reflected? Yes, they will be seen. You can see them on the 16th of April. There will be 2 panels in the morning on this topic. We will have discussions about powertrains, about older possibilities that don't make any sense, but where there's the need to have an exchange and a discussion. Great. Okay. So let's get back to the people after having discussed technology. Kerstin, you are in charge of the entire team of the BUS2BUS. You spent weeks and months preparing it. So what about the participants? What will be their food for thought? And maybe they can look forward to the BUS2BUS 27 even. What can they look forward then? What is the long-term perspective?
It's not 27, it's 28, of course. Apologies. Yeah, that's right. It's biannual. What I'm hoping for is that you all go back home with a bag full of confidence and hope, because this is what we want to get across with our offer. But hopefully also pride and the awareness that people are working in a sector that makes a major contribution to the society simply by their offering mobility and as such offering participation. That is pride to be part of the industry, and hopefully on top of that, a huge portfolio of useful things for your day-to-day business. And yes, 2028, the journey will continue with new topics and probably with an even larger offer of autonomous mobility. We believe that many things will happen over the next 2 years, and this will be reflected in the exhibition. We are at it and we're looking forward to it. Okay, thank you so much. And before I say goodbye, I would like to let you all know that those who participated in the stream will get a discount to the ticket. BUS2BUS 50 is the discount code. Just visit the BUS2BUS website, take a look at the agenda, try to find your priorities. There are so many things to discover, to hear, to touch, to participate in. I think it makes sense to get a good structure for the 2 days to find out what will contribute to your success. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in person in Berlin. Thanks a lot to Kerstin, Christiane, Stefan, Carsten, Maximilian, Rose. Thank you so much.
Danke, Zackes. Danke an euch.
Thank you very much and goodbye.